All right. Job chapter 19, verse 23 states, "Oh, that my words were now written. Oh, that they were printed in a book, that they were graven with an iron pen and lead in the rock forever. For I know that my Redeemer lives, that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. And though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see Eloah, whom I shall see for myself, and my eyes shall behold, and not another, though my reins be consumed within me." Like the Old Testament kinsman redeemer, Yeshua stands ready to reclaim and restore our place in his kingdom. Rescue us from death. Free us from slavery to sin, and to be our advocate before the Father Yahweh. In Luke chapter 20, verse 27, "Then came him certain of the Sadducees, which deny that there is any resurrection. And they asked him, saying, Master, Moses wrote unto us, if any man's brother die having a wife, and he die without children, that his brother should take his wife, and raise up seed unto his brother. There were therefore 7 brethren. And the first took a wife, and died without children. The second took her to wife, and he died childless. And the third took her, and in like manner the 7 also. And they left no children, and died. Last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife of them is she? For 7 had her to wife." And Yeshua answered, said unto them, "The children of this world marry and are given in marriage, but they which shall be accounted worthy to obtain that world and shall the resurrection from the dead, neither marry nor are given in marriage, neither can they die any more, for they are equal unto the angels, and are the children of Yahweh, being the children of the resurrection. Now that the dead are raised, even Moses showed at the bush, when he called Yahweh the Elohim of Abraham, and the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob. For he is not an Elohim of the dead, but of the living, for all live unto him." In Psalms 19, verse 14, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Yahweh, my strength and my Redeemer." If you ever think you're having a bad day, read the book of Job. Whatever your problems are, they will pale in comparison. Job is a devoted and faithful follower of Yahweh and received incredible blessings in abundance from Yahweh. Great wealth, property, and family. He would pray for his sons and daughters and offer sacrifices for them just in case they had sinned. Yet Yahweh allowed Satan to strip Job of his wealth and health, with multiple calamities destroying his property and livestock, killing his children at the same time. Job's response has been immortalized, often quoted by people with no idea where it originated. The Lord gives, the Lord takes away. It's really the only attitude we can have during devastation. I know that it's not easy. Many of our fellow Floridians lost everything during past hurricanes, and I know only a few who are able to keep that Job-like attitude that Yahweh gives and Yahweh takes away. When we think about Job, that's the image that usually comes to mind. The poor, former rich guy, covered in boils and sores, wearing sackcloth and ash, but still praising Yahweh. We tend to miss his understanding of salvation. In the midst of his suffering, he understands that there is a Redeemer who will save him and bring him to eternal life. Scholars are not in agreement about the origin of the book of Job. Some think the story came down through the Edomites, written sometime after Jacob. Some believe it's even earlier than Genesis, since Job doesn't include the rules and regulations associated with Mosaic law, which would be somewhere around 1500 BC or so. Others believe it was written during the time of King David or King Solomon, which would be around 1000 or so. Still, others believe it was written during Ezekiel's time in Babylon captivity, which would put it around the late 500 BC. Even the latest dating, however, puts Job at a full 6 centuries before Messiah's ministry on the earth. Yet he describes his knowledge of his Redeemer with such deep sincerity that he wishes his words could be carved in rock and filled with lead for the people to read it centuries later. Job describes that even after he dies, his Redeemer will still live and will still stand even at the end of days. And in his resurrected body, Job will see Yahweh at his side. He won't see any other Elohims besides the one true Elohim he knows that will save him. In Psalm 17, verse 15, "As for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness." He's not planning on taking a nap. He's talking about the resurrection of the dead. Job doubts that he will be justified during his lifetime, but he is sure that he will stand before Yahweh in a body fully vindicated by his Redeemer. The Hebrew word that is translated as Redeemer refers to the Old Testament term kinsman redeemer, who was a close relative able to reclaim and restore the person's property. Leviticus 25, verse 23, "The land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for you are strangers and sojourners with me. And in all the land of your possessions you shall grant a redemption for the land." Leviticus 25, verse 39, "And if thy brother that dwells by thee be waxen poor, and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant, but as a hired servant, and as a sojourner. He shall be with thee, and shall serve thee unto the year of Jubilee. And then shall he depart from thee, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family. And unto the possessions of his fathers shall he return. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shalt fear thy Elohim. Both thy bondmen and thy bondsmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall you buy bondmen and bondmaids. Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall you buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begot in your land, and they shall be your possession. And you shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, you shall not rule over one over another with rigor. And if sojourner or stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwells by him wax poor, and sells himself unto the stranger or sojourner by thee, or to the stock of the stranger's family, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him. Either his uncle or his uncle's son may redeem him, or any that is near of kin unto him of his family may redeem him. or if he be able, he may be redeemed himself. And he shall reckon with him that bought him from the year that he was sold to him unto the year of Jubilee. And the price of his sale shall be according unto the number of years, according to the time of a hired servant shall it be with him. If there be yet many years behind, according unto them, he shall give again the price of his redemption out of the money that he was bought for. If there remain but few years unto the year of Jubilee, then he shall count with him, and according unto his years shall he give him again the price of his redemption. And as a yearly hired servant shall he be with him, and the other shall not rule with rigor over him in thy sight. And if he be not redeemed in these years, then he shall go out in the year Jubilee, both he and his children with him. For unto me the children of Israel are servants, they are my servants, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh your Elohim. Every time you see this ending, I am Yahweh your Elohim, this is the same thing as Yahweh signing his name. I approve of what was just said. It's very important to Yahweh. Deuteronomy 19, verse 6. Lest the avenger of the blood pursue the slayer while his heart is hot, and overtake him, because the way is long, and slay him, whereas he was not worthy of death, inasmuch as he hated him not in time past. Wherefore I command thee, saying, Thou shalt separate thee cities for thee. And if Yahweh thy Elohim enlarge thy coast, as he has sworn unto thy fathers, and give thee all the land which he promised to give unto thy fathers, and if thou shalt keep all these commandments, to do them which I commanded thee this day, to love Yahweh thy Elohim, and to walk ever in his ways, then shalt thou add 3 cities more for thee besides these 3, that innocent blood be not shed in thy land, which Yahweh thy Elohim gives thee for an inheritance, and so blood be upon thee. But if any man hate his neighbor, and lie in wait for him, and rise up against him, and smite him mortally that he die, and flees unto one of these cities, then the elders of his city shall send and fetch him there, and deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood, that he may die. Leviticus 25:25. If thy brother be waxen poor, and has sold away some of his possessions, and if any of his kin come to redeem it, then shall he redeem that which his brother sold, and even go to court on behalf of his wronged relative. Proverbs 23, verse 10. Remove not the old landmarks, and enter not into the fields of the fatherless. For the Redeemer is mighty. He shall plead their cause with thee. Probably the best known example of the kinsman redeemer is Boaz in the book of Ruth. He was willing to rescue Ruth to give her a new life. Job is convinced that his own kinsman redeemer will be able to vindicate him even on the other side of death, and that Job will be there to see it happen. In Job's time, very little was known about the afterlife. It wasn't until many centuries later that Yeshua and the writers of the New Testament would explain the significance of Messiah's death and resurrection. Job's statement gives us a powerful example of faith. He knew in his heart that he would be redeemed. He just didn't know it was Yeshua. Some time ago, a traveling evangelist was riding along and singing to himself a song called I've Been Redeemed. A fellow passenger heard him and he began to join in with the song. And he asked the man that joined in with him if he has been redeemed. The man said, yes, praise the Lord. So the evangelist asked him when it was. He said about 1900 years ago. The evangelist was astonished and thought the man's a little crazy, and he asked, 1900 years ago? The man replied, yes, sir, but I'm sorry to say it's only been about a year since I've known about it. So, Job believed in the resurrection, even though others did not. Centuries later, we see Yeshua preaching in the temple courts of Jerusalem. The Sadducees tried to trip up his theology using a story from the Apocrypha. The Sadducees were a branch of Judaism that denied the resurrection. They believed in Torah, the first 5 books. Since these 5 books don't mention resurrection, the Sadducees didn't believe in it. Yet they chose a tale from the Jewish book of Tobit, in which the jealous demon Asmodeus killed the righteous Sarah, first 7 husbands. The question they posed to Yeshua was not a serious inquiry. It was a mocking, sarcastic taunt meant to make Yeshua look like a fool. Yeshua, however, uses the same books of Moses to show them proof of the resurrection by arguing that Yahweh would not claim to be the Elohim of people who don't exist anymore. His covenant requires that if he is their Elohim after death, then there must be something after death. In fact, the very same Apocrypha the Sadducees used to try to embarrass Yeshua contains the same common Jewish prayers used at the time to show Yahweh's faithfulness to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as a living reality. In 4 Maccabees, in appendix to the Greek Septuagint, we read the following. Since they believe that they, like our patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, do not die to God, but live to God. They who believe that to God they die not, for as our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they live to God. And then that also says, they knew also that they who die for the sake of God live to God, as do Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all the patriarchs. The Sadducees knew these writings, but chose to believe their own idea instead of the Bible. They believed their own understanding instead of trusting in Yahweh. We have Sadducees today who don't believe in the resurrection. We have priests and pastors out there on TV that don't believe. They try to convince other believers that the idea of a bodily resurrection is foolish. They tell us that Yeshua didn't really die on the cross, that he just passed out and woke up on the tomb and escaped. Yeshua wasn't able to rise from the dead, but he could survive a deadly flogging and a crucifixion, and then use his nail-pierced hands to roll back a multi-ton stone from a grave, being guarded by temple guards, soldiers, without being heard or seen, and then hobbled along on nail-pierced feet to where his disciples were hiding out. They could believe that, but they can't believe in the resurrection. Or that Yeshua actually died, but his disciples went to the wrong tomb, which was why it was empty. Of course, that means the temple guards was guarding the wrong tomb. And somehow, neither the temple guards nor the Jewish leaders ever thought to just produce the body from the correct tomb to stop believers in its tracks. Or, the more popular idea that Yeshua died on the cross and the resurrection was merely a spiritual feeling that the apostles felt in memory of Yeshua, not a real bodily resurrection. This would mean that all the apostles preached a resurrection that was a lie, claiming to see something they didn't really see, and suffered torture and death without a single one of them changing their story about the whole resurrection thing. It is incredible that the psalmist and Job both had no opportunity to hear from witnesses of any resurrection, yet believed in it with amazing faith. While believers today who know about the overwhelming evidence supporting Messiah's death and resurrection and his redeeming sacrifice for us choose not to believe. Yeshua tells us that the logic of this world does not apply in the next one. In the Old Testament, Yahweh tells us that his ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. Yet we keep trying to fit Yahweh into our mold of what the creator of the universe should behave like. How many times have you heard someone say that they can't believe in a God who would allow suffering or send people to hell or whatever pet peeve they have at the moment? They really think that Yahweh's existence is contingent on what they believe. If they chose not to believe in an Elohim who allows suffering in this world, then that Elohim didn't exist. It's like standing on the train track, claiming that trains don't exist. The train hauling gas line pipes out of Panama City will run them over whether they believe in the trains or not. Yeshua is our Redeemer, the one people have hoped for and believed in for almost 3,500 years or more. Like the Old Testament kinsman redeemer, Yeshua stands ready to reclaim and restore our place in his kingdom, rescue us from death, free us from slavery to sin, and be our advocate before Father Yahweh, an eternal parallel to the kinsman redeemer authority of the Old Testament regarding this world. Job 19:25. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. In Acts 1 verse 11. Which also said, You men of Galilee, why stand you gazing up into heaven? This same Yeshua, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as you have seen him go into heaven. Yahweh bless us.